We move on next to the charter panel discussion. The panel members are Julian Chang, who's with Burgess and Seakeepers International. We've got Teck from the Association of Boat Charters Singapore, Kirstin Ringsing from YACHTZOO, and Benjamin Tabuteau from Asia Marine, Thailand. May I invite you all on stage? I will be moderating the charter panel discussion. Thank you for joining us. Okay, I'm moderating. I come from the other side to support the charter industry. My industry, Marina, we work hand in hand with charter operators because you need services. Most of y'all, I believe, operate out of a marina, mostly, if not all. Ben, can you please share with us how do you see the industry now and before, pre-COVID in Thailand? Where do you see the industry in Thailand?
As a whole?
Yes, as a whole. Could you share where do you see and could you include what has been the change now? How do you see the growth, the demand for charters compared to before COVID and after COVID?
Okay. Well, our company does bareboats, day trips, and the occasional super yacht charter as well. So we've got our hands in everything. And it's different for each kind of charter, I suppose. I can speak best about bareboats because that's the core of our business. It's something my father started 30 years ago. We've got bookings until the middle of next year for bareboats, and we're having a low season like no other because basically people who charter bareboats, they tend to be more adventurous, and so they were the first ones to come back the moment they could after COVID, and we've got an explosion of too many bareboat requests and not enough bareboats. A lot of the supply for sailing yachts in Thailand diminished a lot during COVID. And so we're faced with a lot of people who want to come back sailing and don't have enough boats to do so. So they've pushed their bookings into the low season, or they're coming in during the green season. And so, I mean, bareboats is doing very well. They've come back very strong. Day trips as well. It took a while to get started, but normally we see lots of bookings come in sort of in the beginning of December. But once things wound back up, they just kept coming. We had every operator was fully packed during Christmas, New Year, and things are trailing off now that the rainy season's arriving. But people have short memories. It was the same after SARS. It was the same after the tsunami. A year later, everything's back to normal, and more. That is how it is in Thailand right now.
Okay, you spoke about bareboat charters, cruise charters, luxury charters. How do you see the demand currently?
Still there, but it took a little longer to come back, at least in our experience. I'm not sure how my fellow colleagues here saw, but it took a little longer for it to come back. We've got more demand coming for, I'd say, like the second half of the high season and more for next year, especially for super yacht charters because there's quite a bit of a lead time coming on. I just got emailed this morning from a client who I had to cancel in COVID, and it's a booking 4 years in the making. So it's coming back. It's just a little bit later than the smaller day trips that can be booked rather quickly.
Thank you, Ben. Can I move on to Kirstin? You have a vast experience in yacht charter management. Could you please share with us where do you see the growth in this region in Southeast Asia and greater?
Well, I have been in the business for 30 years and I've done charters worldwide. There was a time when we had the really Russian clients. They came to the Maldives, they chartered 5 yachts together. Now there has been a standstill in Southeast Asia, I think so, because now I documented myself from Yachtfolio, which is our online calendar for bona fide brokers worldwide. There were only 11 yachts from 50 to 90 meter in Southeast Asia, meaning in Maldives, Indonesia, Malaysia. So it tends to be that it's the owners who decide to place their yacht in the Southeast Asia, and then they leave maybe a few open periods for us brokers to promote their yachts. That means that it's not enough time, because when clients, they don't take a decision like that in 2 or 3 months. So it's been very weak. Yeah? Caribbean is still the best winter season, and summer is still what I mean is still the Mediterranean. My suggestion is, from my experience, is that you should work more with the, for example, MIBA, the Worldwide Mediterranean. It was called the Mediterranean Yacht Brokers Association, and now it's called the Worldwide. We have, over the years, I've been on the board, and we have shown that over the years we've been able to come to we have made huge efforts to develop all the different countries in Europe to come to a common contract, common policies. Now we charge VAT on all the countries. And I suggest you maybe here make an experience with MIBA. I can tell you the best example I can say that I was on a delegation maybe 15 years ago. Croatia was not at all on the map. And I was invited by other colleague brokers, by the Minister of Tourism and Transportation, to exchange our advice and how we could help them develop the local market for them, not to be afraid of foreign flag yachts, but to protect their own interests. What have happened over the years that now they adapt our contract. They have now their own high quality yachts with flying the Croatian flag, and it's become one of the most attractive destinations in the Mediterranean at the moment. The only thing that they impose, and I understand fully, and I advise that here as well, that they never allow a foreign flag yacht below 24 meters to get a license. That means that they can protect their own small business, like day charters, which is a huge business with catamarans, and that works very well. So there is a compromise, but I really advise you to work with the other countries in the Med who has come to a successful compromise. Also, I think because I have had the fabulous experience to sail as a broker on Sili Luna in El Raja Ampad, which is an extraordinary experience. And it gave me a huge eyes-opening for what you have to offer us, not on the foreign flag yachts, but you have the most, how can I say, by nature, friendly and hospitable persons. And if you train them, like they were trained on Sili Luna, it was amazing. And I have still a Philippine client that I have cruised all over the Med. He came to me and said, Kirstin, now I want to cruise in a diving area. And I said, you should go on Sili Luna. He said, oh no, when I saw the brochure, I said, you know, I transferred my enthusiasm, and he came back twice. So my advice is train and pick up your own fleet here. We want to come here and learn about your culture, and that's what gives us the experience, not on a foreign flag yachts with a foreign flag, unless you have your own crew on foreign flag yachts. Otherwise, it's not necessary. They can stay in the Med, in my opinion. So I love Southeast Asia, and I think there is a huge potential for you. But try to work together with us so we can exchange experiences.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. You did say a while ago there was a good demand for charters from the Russians, and there was a standstill. Which area were you specifically mentioning?
The Maldives.
Maldives. Okay, because
Easy, you know why? They went to the Caribbean, and they had no visa issues. 9/11 imposed, George Bush imposed visas to all the different islands, and they all have different jurisdictions. So a client could wait up to 2 months to get visas for an itinerary from north to south. Maldives, no regulations, no visa restrictions, and they are only almost on the same time zone as Moscow, so they could continue to work.
okay.
That was a big advantage, and they scored with that.
Thank you. Teck, as the member of Boat Charter Association, where do you see the future going in this part here for Singapore?
Okay, for Singapore context, is a bit different from Julian case.
Yes,
because
that's what I'm interested to hear. Where do you take this?
Currently, right, our market is predominantly day charters and local customers. Majority are locals instead of tourists. So that's why we are doing a lot of recce trips to neighboring countries like Indonesia. Like last September, we did a convoy recce trip to Anambas. So we are looking to explore this type of international yacht cruise so that we can attract tourists, more tourist sector into Singapore rather than just the local market. But on the other hand, during COVID, right, we did quite well because we don't need to rely on tourists. So that was actually quite, we'll say, the historical high for the Singapore yacht charter market. But now, once the border opened up, we can see there's quite a significant slowdown. And we are looking forward to doing international yacht cruises to elevate the industry.
It has been a challenge, I know, for tourists, those on a boat trip to go around Singapore. Nothing against, but because limitation of cruising ground. You don't have much of a cruising playground within your circle here, unless you're out somewhere far out in Indonesia, or you cross over to Malaysia because of places to go, spend a couple of nights or week to see. Okay, when you spoke about Anambas, how long was the trip? Where was this group? How did you work out the whole thing?
Yeah, you're very right about the Singapore waters is very limited. So, but then as Singapore is in a very good geographical position, and the infrastructure is great for, even for super yachts to come here, especially to explore the southern parts, like Lingga, the Batam, Bintan areas, and also the eastern side, which is the South China Sea, where Anambas is. So that trip, we went for 1 week, 8 days, 7 nights. So that was amazing. Okay, as just now the captains, the super yacht captains has mentioned, the culture is quite important. It works both ways. It's a bit challenging for foreigners to go in to do the port clearance and stuff like that. We encounter a lot of issues, but it's also the culture that is attractive. That makes this place unique. Yeah. So but I would say these kind of recce trips is very important because especially for the refueling supplies and all this, the knowledge is not so, the information is not so well widespread. So we need to have local contacts in order to organize a successful charter trip. Yeah.
Thank you, Teck. Move on to Julian. You've been long with Burgess. It is a brand, a well-known name in this region here. I believe you yourself, you go out for snorkeling, diving, trips out. What is the market capture that you have at the moment in this part of the world?
Well, after the COVID, we can see that there's a lot of pent up. People couldn't get out of their home, but when they get out, they get 5 guys in a restaurant. So the charter of the smaller boats became very popular, and we can see that a lot of the smaller boats are being chartered for day trips, like you mentioned. Yeah. But the big cruise charter somehow is not there. One of the reasons has been there's not enough super yachts around here for charter. And that's why even though we try and propose long-term charter on a super yacht here to the overseas European. There's not enough assets here for them to choose. And when they come at a certain date, it's not available, and that's why we're lacking of big super yachts. That's one reason. The second reason is private yacht owners that have their yachts here, they tend to shy away from chartering to Asian guests. I'm saying Asian guests because
They mess it up.
yeah, they get in and have a party, let's drink, and so the big super yacht guys say, no, I don't think I'll charter. But they're very willing to charter in the Mads, in Bahamas, because it's a different culture again, we talk about. So super yacht, there's not enough in this area for the foreign clients to come over. And the education of, if you charter a super yacht for a week, you make sure that you return it back the same way you have it. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, speaking about chartering to Asians, I live in Phuket. I've got a couple of charter operator companies operating out of Phuket Boat Lagoon. Luxury, we can't take in super yachts, so basically ours are like 100-footer and below. So they do luxury, it's a luxury class boat, they do charters. The last 3 months or maybe more, it's busy. It's busy with the Russian market. Russian has got two different type of market. One is the noisy and the messy one. And the other one, okay, the boat comes back as it is conditioned, as it goes back. So where do you see this growing in the years to come?
I would say places like Phuket will do well. Exactly what you mentioned in Singapore, we don't have that territory, beautiful waters that someone charter a week. Just to go to Phuket, it takes 3 days, that's gone. You take a boat from Singapore, you get to Terengganu, again, nearly 2 days gone. So the week charter becomes very expensive, boarding from Singapore. So I think Singapore should stay still with the daily charter or a one-egg charter.
Oh, it could be a point of
Yeah, if you board in Singapore.
Get on board from
That's
here,
right.
and then they could do a one-week cruise. There's a lot to do, whether they go off to the along the Straits of Malacca. There's
No. No. You can't board in Singapore and take a one-week cruise because you spend three days on sea getting to Phuket. By the time you reach there, you come back. So
What if you do a 7 days Singapore to Phuket and then disembark there? Would that be an option?
well, there's nothing to do on board. The charterer just wants to get an island, jump in the water, do some diving. And I think, well, I'm saying Phuket is a perfect place to actually do weekly charter there, including Bali. These are the two major places. Yeah.
Let me move back to Benjamin.
Microphone, maybe you want
Yeah. Besides Phuket, where else is your base?
Besides,
Where else your charters other than Phuket? Do you operate anywhere else? No, in Phuket.
me personally, just Phuket. There's not much else in Thailand worth chartering. There's a little bit in Samui, mostly day trips. As far as our other offices of Asian Marine, there's Singapore, we've already explored that, and then there's Hong Kong that does a lot of day trips too. So the Hong Kong office does a lot of super yacht day trips, and actually just day trips. If we're looking for weekly charters, it's Phuket.
So, where I'm coming to is, where does Asia Marine sees this in the next 2 to 3 years in the growth of charter market?
Well, actually, I have a question for my fellow panelists, because you've all mentioned the same thing, is that we don't have enough yachts. And I did mention we got more requests, but we actually haven't closed that many because we keep coming up with the same usual suspects and they don't pick the boat. And the client that came back to me after 3 years, his boat, the one that he booked, is gone for good. It's in the Anambas somewhere. So I'm going to have to propose him a different boat, and I have no idea if he'll want it. If we're looking about the future, I mean, how do you think that, what's making these boats go away? Legislation, difficulty getting the clients here? What do you guys think?
Just now someone mentioned what is there to improve over here. I believe is the exposure, because there are many islands that is not so well known. Like for example, the places that are well known in Indonesia is like, for example, Bali, Raja Ampat, these kind of places, that's all. But the thing is, there are very beautiful places, islands to go just south of Batam, like Lingga just now I mentioned, and Anambas. These are the places that we can embark from Singapore and reach there in just a couple of hours. So they are the perfect place that super yacht charters or even smaller yacht charters can explore. So these are the areas that we want to move into for the Singapore charter industry.
I'm going to share this. It's not a question. I just want to get an opinion or input. Some 10 years ago, 12 years ago, when I was in Langkawi, super yacht charters was very big. The boats were primarily coming into Langkawi just to pick up guests. And they were off for a week, and they don't come back. And then the boat comes back after a month or so, again to pick up guests from one of the luxury hotels, and then they go off for a week, and then the guests fly off from whichever destination was the end of the 1 week. Has that been coming back anywhere within Thailand, Singapore, in this region? Super yacht long-term charters. A week charters. Like you said, Ben, there's shortage of boat now.
Yeah, the demand hasn't come back as quickly as the rest of the other kinds of charters we operate. But the question remains, are the right boats here, and how easy is it for them to get here and do the charter? It hasn't, I mean, there are still charters. You know, and Thailand did a charter license that allows people to start in Thailand for foreign flag boats. So we've had quite a few of those happening, very short-term ones on super yachts. I wouldn't call them weekly long charters. I'd say like 3 days, 2 nights for the boats that have the license. I think it's too soon to say, because everything reopened in the middle of the high season. So we won't see big long-term charters like we used to do that take a couple of months of advanced planning to book yet. We haven't seen it yet. We've only seen the short-term stuff at the moment.
Okay, Kirstin, I'll move back to you. What would you like to see in terms of changes to charter operation in this region over the next 12 months?
For me, it would really be to try to work together and make not too complicated to come into one country from another. When I did charters in Thailand, you know, I had the impression that the yacht had to go to Langkawi to pick up duty-free booze and duty-free cigarettes, and then they left. You know, if you could work together and make it less difficult to go from one country to another. I do believe there is with the new trend of explore yachts, they don't want to sit anymore on just a gin palace somewhere. They do that in St. Barts in Saint-Tropez. Now they want to go and have a life experience, and now the yacht can offer that. They had the range to go here. They have everything on board. So try to work together as a region instead of being so individual and have your own regulations. That's my advice. I do believe it, and I try to promote it. And so we can also advise our owners in our fleet, please think about going and spend 2 seasons or 2 years in Southeast Asia, not to go in there for 1 season, because it's not enough time for us to put together a complete program to satisfy the owner's expectations. So you see, if there was a more easy way to go around for several seasons, I think we will come with more business. Yeah. Right. But it's funny, when I looked at Yachtfolio, now it's my only database that I consulted here. There were 24 yachts on Yachtfolio in Southeast Asia. 11 were foreign yachts. You had 13. very good yachts and very good crew. So you are on the way.
Thank you, Kirstin. Before I open to the floor for questions, Wicky, if you have anything that you'd like to add on, to share, your vision.
Oh, okay. Okay, our mission as the association, right, is I would say that Singapore charter industry is relatively young compared to, say, the Med or even Phuket. And it's only recently that we have a couple of super yachts that came in for local charters. It's not even for, international charters. So the next step that we want to explore is really to move out of Singapore waters to the neighboring country, those areas that is not covered on the western side by Phuket, like, for example, Anambas. So actually, I have a suggestion for those super yacht charters, right? Since the off-season in Phuket is affected by the southwest monsoon, during that period, actually, they can move down to Singapore and charter at Anambas, which is not affected. Then during the northeast monsoon, then they can move back to Phuket. So that will be a perfect plan. There will be no off-season. Yeah. Okay, then the next is, of course, we are doing a lot of these kind of wacky trips so that we can show to the world what this place can offer that is near to Singapore. There are a lot of places that we've been to, it's just that it's not so well known. And Anambas is one of them. Next will be Lingga and those islands around Bintan. So, yeah, do watch out for it.
Thank you, Wicky. Julian, would you like to share something before I open the floor to funny questions?
Well, to look at the super yacht chartering, I think, like I mentioned earlier, we need to have more assets here. There should be a choice that our foreign potential clients can come to Asia, and during the period they are here, they would have some choices to pick on. But now it's not enough assets here. And secondly, if you have a super yacht for charter for a week, I think leave it in Bali or leave it in Phuket, not Singapore.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Thank you, Julian. All right, I'd like to open up to the floor for any questions. Yes. Can we have the mic here, please?
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Darren from 115 Marina, SUTR Enterprise. My question is on charters, right? So whether you are doing a lot of day charters in, say, for Hong Kong or for Singapore, or you do like a weekly charters for Phuket, right? And whether it's a bareboat or a boat with crew and captains, I just want to find out from the panel that do you see that a lot of these bookings could potentially be going online, like a booking of hotels online, booking of a service apartment on an Airbnb kind of approach? Or do you see that bulk of the bookings moving forward is still a very manual approach, which is a more traditional travel agency kind of coordination, coming back with the booking request and then going back to the client to and fro a few times, right? So there are my questions on that, whether you see this instant booking online is possible or is still a very manual approach moving forward. Yeah, thank you.
I think you are completely right. Day charters could go online. They do it in the Caribbean, we do it in the Med, and it works very fine. I don't feel any competition from them. They do a good job. They take credit cards. We do 8 pages contract. It's not worth it for a day charter. So it's a completely different market, and I agree with you. It should be done online. They don't need us as brokers.
It depends. I found in my experience, like when we get requests from the online platforms, there's a lot of discussion between us and the agent. So the client, it looks like they're just clicking book, but then someone from the agency contacts us. There's a lot of discussion, and then they confirm with the client afterwards. So there's like a little bit of manual in there behind the scenes as well. If it's like, a day trip that is booked privately. If it's a trip that goes out every day and they're just buying tickets, that can be automated for sure.
Maybe I can add in one input to the panel. I'm a little bit different from you guys. Maybe I suggest something. One of the issues, I have met people from Campbell Nicholson, Burgess, Fraser. I have a lot of frequent meeting with them because they want to tap my market area. How do we charter the boat? I think our Singapore area, because it's in the equator, we charter very frequently, and the weather is quite consistently warm and humid. So the people like the catamarans, and they also like, they're not used to paying what I call the Western charter rate. So I have suggested to them, lower your rate, get them stuck into the interest of happy yachting, and then afterwards they will refirm, and then you can up a little bit as you go into the international pricing range. Right now, you got to entice them to enjoy yachting marina. And I think they can afford it, but they don't see taking a big boat out, spending 1 week, paying the 1 week charter rate. They rather have a 3-day style of programs, and then they pay the 3 days out of the 7-day style rate, and then they will feel and experience what it's all about. This is one of my good suggestions. My boat got chartered. They asked me to lower it. I'm happy to lower it because I want to entice them to share the kind of lifestyle that I have been enjoying. So the other one goes global. We also, I just chartering quite a big mega yacht with 14 friends in Palau for October. And I don't mind knowing 10 of them, don't know any 10 of them out of 14, 3 of my friends are going with me. And we pay very handsomely to go, just to go diving because I'm a diving enthusiast. And it's not cheap, but I fly up there to charter the boat for 8 days. And this is how I got stuck into diving indulgences. So maybe you also have to look at all the pricing again, review it, and that's how Asia started. And then afterward, they will pay top price. That's my view.
Thank you, Mr. Teh.
Excuse me. It's only we had yacht owners like you, business-minded, who do it as a business. Then it will be easy for us as well. There are few that really now start to work it as a business, and they do like you. But most of them, it's a side business, it's their toy. And, well, okay, if I do a little bit of charter here and there, I'm happy. But you have to have the business mind like you have for us as well to make it work.
Thank you. Kirstin, I'd like to add one more thing to you. Julian, you don't need clear water. If you look at what Quek is saying, our charter are short, and people who stay longer are those who have toys. Now, they don't have to go underwater. I have a lot of toys on my boat, and that's how my customer has been renting it out, because that magic carpet, the what I call it, the bananas and all that, the scooters and all that, and the owner pays because they are so happy to see their children or their family enjoying a full day or overnight stay on a mega yacht. And the mega yacht can go to 200 feet. I will pay if my whole family are very happy, but not at the price of Western rate right now, not yet.
Do we have any more questions? Oh, yes, over there. Sazli.
Hi, this is for Julian. You said about, sorry, Kirstin. Kirstin. You said that Croatia 15 years ago was not much. And apart from being at the right place at the right time, what do you think that they, if you can pinpoint to one thing that they did right, what would that be? Because last time I went to Croatia, it was just a massive charter, business out there.
Excuse me, I didn't get, it was a massive disaster?
No, it was a massive, the charter was just amazing out there.
Well, I cannot tell you because I have 3 charters already booked in Croatia for this summer for new clients. The thing is that they have not been exposed so much to us brokers because they haven't made a yacht show yet. You see, Greece, we have really fantastic charter shows. We need to have the exposure. So when I do, I send a local broker that I know, that I trust to see the yacht. I don't want to go into a headache. It's not worth it. Right. So if the local broker says no, or they have a doubt, I don't do it. So I knock on wood, I have had no problems in Croatia. It's a wonderful cruising area now. It's #1, I tell you.
Yes.
Next one is Greece. France, no. Balearics, not really. So we need to find new areas and destinations.
So what happened? What did they do right that other people did not do?
I think they did right to listen to us, and slowly by slowly, I think the Croatian wealthy people started to come to our boat shows and saw the quality of the yachts, or started to charter themselves, because they are really beautiful, beautiful fleet up to 45 meters, really local crew. So somehow they do business, and they maintain the boats very well. So they listened to us when we came and keep their eyes open and come to the boat shows. And also what I have suggested every time I've been in a boat show with my own yachts in my fleet, I think my crew, I ask them to go on and look on competitors' yacht, also my owners, so because they always think they have the best yachts in the world. It's not true. You have to compare. And then they open their eyes and say, oh, maybe I should put a little bit more money in here, do a better table setting and so on. It's all the exchange, between crew and owners that would help us all.
Can I add something? Okay.
Sure.
This is actually with regards to what Mr. Tay has mentioned just now about lowering the price, to suck them in, to sort of enjoy this kind of lifestyle. We definitely do agree with that. But the thing is, the price, right, has to be dependent on what is the cost. So why not we have I have a brave suggestion that some kind of incentive scheme for the charter boats in Singapore in terms of berthing. Then we can lower down the cost. Definitely we can lower down the price. Then as the lifestyle builds up, then yes.
I'm not giving any discount at Phuket Boat Lagoon. All right, any more questions?
Yes, one here.
Where? Oh, yes. Gail.
Hello, Gail Burlow from Yacht Style. One straightforward question post-COVID, and looking at the situation now in Southeast Asia, what would be the real, genuine new charter destinations in Asia? Obviously, Myanmar, Burma is out of the way. What countries are appealing today? We mentioned about Phuket, for instance, in Vietnam, Cambodia. Any new routes that are shaping up?
The Philippines. The Philippines, we did a charter in the Philippines first time, and we did discreetly few in Philippines because it's not legal. So we did it like an owner's cruise with a letter of invitation because of the good diving. Yeah, the Philippines, yeah.
Susie, you're not writing this, so she did it illegally. All right, do you have any more questions?
Yep. It's still illegal in Singapore as well.
Do you have any more questions?
Yes.
No. Yes.
Hi, my Nazmi from FEMA International. Actually, and lowering the price, I'm not agree. And we have one boat right now, and we are chartering in the Phuket area. We fill it up all next year. Now we're pulling up two super yachts from Europe during the winter. We fill it up also, which is the real European price. But of course, when you're lowering the price, you have to think about it. How much crew costs for you, how much running boats cost you, and then if you're comparing all these things, you cannot lower the prices. And then also our biggest problem, because we entered this market last year, in Phuket, our biggest problem is everybody wants the lower price. And large boat, they want to have the little price. And then of course, and brokers and the international brokers, they know the price, but local brokers, they never know the price running cost. Lower the price, and then after that, and we cannot charter the super yachts for their clients. But then the problem is here, everybody thinking, and we have to charter the boat lower price. No. If you're chartering the mega yachts and super yachts, you have to use real price. And otherwise, if you start lowering the price, we cannot bring the boats here.
Let me wrap up this with you,
Yeah.
Nazmi. Nazmi, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, you're coming up on the next panel.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. I agree with one thing. The local brokers, they are really unaware of the costs because they benchmark with the local workforce costs. But when a super yacht, it comes with a full crew on board. It has got a different cost.
I not agree with you.
No.
No, because if you're hiring lower cost crew, and then of course, and you don't get the proper services.
Yeah, that's what I was. Sure.
Anyway, and this is my things, and we are bringing more boats in the market. And next year we have 3 super yachts coming to Phuket and Singapore area, all filled up. And all filled up by the brokers.
Arthur's got something. Yeah, no problem.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just talking about more volume. Yours will have a very niche market, maybe 50 of them every year will use. We're talking about hundreds, where the Chinese don't understand. For example, there are 159 million tourists came out, 2019. I'm capturing that market. Once you bite, then you see how much they would have to pay. Now, I chartered a boat. We don't use European salary crew. If you go to Bandar Sea, Sulawesi, there are big mega yachts. And the prices are affordable. The staffs are very hospitable. Great local food, right? They are attentive to the kind of food that we want to eat for multi-millionaire. And we pay. The tip is fantastic for the crew. And we are repeat. And you see the amount of people. My diving group, they come from all over the world. The Europeans, the people from Turkey, Mexico, they enjoy this part because they know the value for money. When they see big whale shark for the kind of price, they don't mind, they don't need a fiberglass Italian yacht. So I'm just saying that there are many kind of customer base. Mine is that once you bring this introduction of lifestyle, then you see they will pay. They eventually will pay.
Thank you, Arthur. I'm going to extend the coffee break so there can be more Q&A at the coffee session. Kirstin, Benjamin, Julian, and Teck, thank you so much for joining us on the panel. We're going to have a short break, coffee break. We'll start back at 3:20.